Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video, and it's been a very long time since I uploaded on this channel. I've just been very busy with changes in my life, new job, and just a lot of things have been going on. But very recently I've stumbled across an article that was very unexpected. And what I've read is that Nintendo are suing the creators of Palworld. Now, I don't think for a lot of people this has really come as a surprise, because since Palworld's release in January, Nintendo have been investigating Palworld ever since, mostly around the infringements of its designs, in especially with Pokemon to Palworld, and just many of just its essential assets, essentially. Now, Nintendo are pretty much known for being like Armageddon sort of, copyright warriors of just going after anything that just infringes on their intellectual property. It doesn't matter who you are, they will come after you, and they will have no tolerance against it. So this is pretty much now a case for a lot of people knowing, since Nintendo have been investigating Palworld since January, when a potential lawsuit will happen, because many people were predicting this could happen, and now it has happened. So Nintendo have released a statement regarding the lawsuit, so I'm just going to read the statement out. So Nintendo, together with the Pokemon Company, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in the Tokyo District Court against Pocket Pair. The lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringements and compensation for damages on the ground that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Now, Pocket Pair, the creators of Palworld, have also released their statement regarding the lawsuit. So, yesterday a lawsuit was filed against our company for patent infringements. We have received notice of this lawsuit and will begin the appropriate legal proceedings and investigations into the claims of patent infringement. At the moment, we are unaware of the specific patents we are accused of infringing upon, and we have not been notified of such details. Pocket Pair is a small indie game company based in Tokyo. Our goal as a company has always been to create fun games. We will continue to pursue this goal because we know that our game brings joy to millions of gamers around the world. Palworld was a surprise success this year, both for gamers and for us. We were blown away by our amazing response to the game and have been working hard to make it even better for our fans. We will continue improving Palworld and strive to create a game that our fans can be proud of. It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to the game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for the fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not being hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. We apologize to our fans and supporters for any worry or discomfort that this news has caused. As always, thank you for your continued support of Palworld and Pocket Pair. Now, the first thing I would say, reading the two statements, I really think Nintendo needs to hire better people to write a better statement than what they've written. Like, their statement is just clear, just blunt, very short willed statement I've ever seen. It really just shows they're really just acting like corporate bureaucrats and just acting out of their own interest rather than the fans. I also find it so ironic that they even said that they have worked so hard for years of the Pokemon franchise, which I actually don't think they really have worked hard for, especially with Game Freak, who are not really very talented right now to actually make a good Pokemon game for a while. And many fans of Pokemon have complained about Game Freak as a studio of what they've been developing with the Pokemon franchise. It's not been great. There's lots of performance issues. A lot of the gameplay does not feel for the modern day, and there's a lot of issues. Whereas with what Pocket Pair have done with Palworld, it's pretty much exactly what people would want from a video game. But also, if you also looked at the numbers of how successful Palworld is, it speaks for itself. Because it's become a major hit with more than 25 million players within a month of its release. And also, if you look at the Steam charts, it also had an all-time peak of 2.1 million players playing at one time. So for an indie game, this is really, really big. And I do think based on that, Nintendo does view Palworld as a potential threat to Pokemon. Now, I have actually played Palworld, so I can give my sort of best description of what I've experienced playing this game. Now, I don't typically view Palworld very similar to Pokemon. It's a little bit like a parody, I would say. They're not exactly using like pals like Pokemon in the way that it differs between the two. They use pals as like sort of NPC animals, essentially, in a way that they can be used as ways to help build, fortresses, build a base, and use them to counter other pals and enemies as well. So it is a little bit similar-ish to Pokemon, but they do use like different names. Now, I think the biggest one is a little bit of a question, but at the moment there's no real strong evidence for it at the moment, is that the design. So I think there was like some criticisms that Pocket Pair used, like some designs and illustrations that kind of infringe on Pokemon. So there was like some designs and some comparisons, and some people did point those sort of things out between, the designs of the characters in the pals in Palworld versus, the illustration and designs in Pokemon, and there were kind of like for like differences between the two. Now, I think if there are some cases that, Pocket Pair did use illustrations and designs that were similar and tweaked in a sense that were similar to Pokemon, then I can kind of see what this infringement could be based on. But I don't necessarily look at pals in Palworld like Pokemon, essentially, because they do have their own unique differences between them. And I think there are like some that do replicate like certain animals or NPCs, like say in Minecraft. It's not exactly saying that, what Palworld is like, copying Pokemon with the names and some of the designs of everything that they've done. So there can be like some designs that could be the same, that would be like the only basis I could see why Nintendo decided to go after Palworld. But at the moment, it's not like clear cut, like exactly like with very clear evidence that this was actually the case. Now, this is one example that I have found, and you can kind of see that there is some designs that do resemble similarities with Pokemon, with what Palworld have used. Now, I do think there are like some design tweaks that do try and make it more distinct for Palworld, and it does seem like they are trying to somehow tweak the design to not make it very similar to Pokemon. And I think you could tell that, I think for some people seeing this, they might automatically look at this and say that this is, a copy of Pokemon. But I think there are like some sort of tweaks that you could potentially make that could avoid a potential copyright infringement or infringement of intellectual property. So I don't know what the design tweaks were for Pocket Pair to do in development of Palworld and the designs of the pals, but I think for a lot of people kind of seeing these two images side by side, I think it does kind of give you a thought that Pocket Pair were taking designs and inspiration from Pokemon. But one thing I will state is this: I'm not an expert in lore or anything like that, so I'm only just telling you this from my opinion and what I'm seeing or hearing. So at the moment, there's no real like anything advice that I'm actually giving that to somehow to really say that one thing to another that could be a potential case of some kind. So I'm not an expert into this, so don't take my words as advice as something that is true. But one thing I can say is true from my opinion is I actually think Palworld is a much enjoyable game than Pokemon. And I just think that's just because Pocket Pair knows how to make a good game. And if this game was meant to be similar to Pokemon, then I don't know why then all of a sudden 25 million players will decide to play Palworld. I think it just shows that Pocket Pair have a market for a game like Palworld, and they know what gamers want. I think that's the key thing. So they want a open world game, which it is. It kind of takes like some elements of Pokemon in a sense that you have power spears, you capture powers, and you can use these powers as like an apprentice or a as a partner to group together to build a base and to fight against other pals. And it does take some ideas of Minecraft that you could craft and build items as well. So it kind of has its own unique twist on a game that I think it does have a market for. Now, I do think my only real critique with Palworld, because it is like a beta test game, especially when I played it on the Xbox, it's a little bit, buggy here and there. But that's like my only real critique of it. But other than that, it's been a very fun game, especially for an indie developer. And I think it's really a lesson for Nintendo that, for a long time with the Pokemon franchise, they haven't really evolved from the Pokemon brand at all in terms of making a game that I think Pokemon fans actually want. Now, I don't think it really diminishes Pokemon. I think Pokemon will always be a franchise loved by everyone, even including myself. But I think fans do deserve better from Nintendo in terms of how to make a good game. And I think Palworld is an example of this, and why I think Nintendo views what Pocket Pair made with Palworld as a real threat. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this lawsuit turns out. Now, Nintendo have sued Pocket Pair with Palworld, so very interesting to see how the events will turn up with that. And yeah, let me know what you think of the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, that's about it. See you later.